Shalom. Today I want to share a short prayer that many people believe can help open the door to greater wealth in life. But listen carefully, because this is where most people get it wrong. This prayer is not a trick. It is not a shortcut. It is not some secret code that lets you skip growth, discipline, or faith. It is deeper than that. It is a shift inside you. It changes the way you think, the way you speak, and the way you receive. If you only repeat the words with no understanding, nothing much may change. But if you understand the meaning behind it, if you let it reshape your mind and your energy, then the prayer can begin to affect how you move through life. And that can change your money story in a real way. So let me give you the prayer first, and then I will explain why people say it is powerful. The prayer is this: Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehakol nihya bidvaro. In simple English, it means, Blessed are you, Lord our God, King of the universe, by whose word everything came to be. That is it. One sentence. Very short. You can say it in under 20 seconds. Now you may be thinking, wait, this is the whole prayer. This is the one line people connect with abundance? Yes and no. Yes, if you understand what it is doing inside you. No, if you treat it like empty sound. Stay with me, because the next part is the key. This is where the real power begins. And if you miss this, the words may just pass through your mouth and never touch your life. The first part says, Blessed are you, Lord. This is not about flattering God. It is not about trying to impress heaven so you can get something in return. It is about recognition. It is about remembering the true source. Most people live as if money only comes from a boss, a client, a market, a paycheck, or a lucky break. They act like those things are the source. But this prayer pushes your mind in another direction. It reminds you that all supply starts from something higher, deeper, and larger than your current situation. When you say, Blessed are you, Lord, you are stepping out of the tight little box of fear. You are saying, I am not trapped inside what I can see. I am not limited to the numbers in front of me. There is a greater source behind all things. And that matters, because when you think you are the source, pressure crushes you, stress follows you, fear speaks loudly. You begin to believe everything depends only on your effort, your force, your hustle, and your worry. But when you remember that God is the source, you stop trying to carry the whole world on your back. You become open. You become calmer. You become a vessel instead of a closed fist. And that shift changes how you work, how you decide, how you show up in rooms, and how you respond when life tests you. Do not miss that. Wealth often begins long before money arrives. It begins when panic loses its control over your mind. It begins when your inner life stops shouting lack and starts trusting supply. That is why these first few words matter so much. They are small, but they move your focus from fear to source, from self-pressure to trust, from tightness to flow. Then the prayer says, Our God, King of the universe. This part is about authority. It is about who truly rules your life. Many people say they believe in God, but deep down they act as if the economy is king, bills are king, the market is king, fear is king, and other people's opinions are king. This line breaks that illusion. It reminds you that no system, no boss, no downturn, no closed door has the final word over your future. When you say King of the universe, you are not speaking poetry just to sound spiritual. You are training your mind to remember who is above every condition. This is faith with weight. This is trust with backbone. It means that even when the outer world looks tight, your inner world does not have to agree with panic. You can still move with wisdom. You can still believe doors can open. You can still act with strength instead of shrinking into fear. And then comes the final part, by whose word everything came to be. This is where the prayer gets very powerful. It points back to creation itself. The world was spoken into being. Light appeared through a word. Form appeared through a word. Order appeared through a word. That means words are not nothing. Speech is not small. What you say again and again shapes how you see, what you expect, and how you act. You may not create like God creates, but your words still build your world. They shape your mindset. They guide your choices. They influence your courage. They affect what you notice, what you ignore, and what you believe is possible. That is why careless speech can quietly build a life of defeat, while aligned speech can help build a life of movement, confidence, and increase. Keep watching, because this is where many people miss the whole message. Most people fail with this kind of prayer for one simple reason. They say words of abundance while feeling deep lack inside. They speak blessing, but in their mind they are still begging, still doubting, still clinging to fear, and when that happens, the inner message overpowers the outer sentence. One person I once knew tried this prayer every day, morning, afternoon, night, again and again. Weeks passed, then months. Nothing seemed to change, no rise in income, no clear breakthrough, no relief. Finally, that person asked, "Why is this not working?" The answer was simple but hard to hear. The prayer was being said with a desperate mind. The words sounded like trust, but the heart was still screaming, "I do not have enough. I am behind. I am losing. I am afraid." That is the split. That is the leak. You cannot plant words of supply while watering them with thoughts of panic and expect them to grow well. This is not about pretending everything is perfect when it is not. It is not about acting fake. It is about choosing the place from which you pray. Are you praying from fear alone, or are you praying toward truth, trust, and provision? That question changes everything, because the prayer is not meant to trap you inside your current condition. It is meant to lift your awareness beyond it. It is not saying stare at your empty bank account and repeat holy words until magic falls from the sky. No, it is saying remember the source, remember the power of speech, and do not let your current lack become the loudest voice in your spirit. This is the turning point. If you catch this, the rest of the practice will make sense. If you miss it, you may repeat the line for months and still stay in the same mental cage. Here is the shift. When you say this prayer, you are not meant to pray only from where you are standing right now. You are meant to pray from where you believe God can take you. You are not denying the problem. You are refusing to let the problem become your identity. You are not lying about your bills. You are choosing not to make those bills your master. That is a huge difference. The person I mentioned earlier changed only one thing. The words stayed the same, but the inner posture changed. Instead of saying the prayer with fear and mental begging, that person began to say it with trust. Not perfect trust, not giant faith all at once, but honest trust. The focus moved from, "I need money now," or "I am doomed," to, "God is my source. I can receive, I can act with wisdom, I can move with courage, I can become the kind of person who can hold increase well." That shift started changing everything. New ideas became visible. Good chances that were once ignored now stood out clearly. Better choices were made. Courage showed up, where fear used to sit. Over time, income grew. Debt started falling. Savings finally began to rise. Same prayer, different inner state, different results. This is why the prayer is not magic. It is alignment. It is like turning your face toward the sun after standing in shadow. The light was there before, but now you are positioned to receive it. And yes, this part matters more than most people think. Because if your inner world is trained only for loss, even good opportunities can pass by, and you will not recognize them. But when your inner world begins to expect supply, movement, and guidance, you start noticing doors that once seemed invisible. And that is often how change begins. So how do you use this prayer in a practical way? Keep it simple. Before you say the words, pause. Take 3 slow breaths. Not because breathing itself is some secret trick, but because it helps quiet the panic. 1 breath to release stress. 1 breath to release fear. 1 breath to release the heavy feeling of not enough. Let your body settle. Let your thoughts slow down. Then for a few seconds, picture supply as something that does not run dry. Picture a stream that keeps moving. Picture a fountain that keeps pouring. Picture the idea that God is not empty, not small, not limited, not confused about how to help you. You are not trying to force a fantasy. You are reminding your heart of a truth bigger than your current pressure. Then say the prayer slowly. Mean each part. Blessed are you, Lord. You are the source. Our God, King of the universe. You are above what I fear, by whose word everything came to be. Your word creates, and my words matter too. That is enough. Do not rush it like a robot. Do not mumble it while scrolling on your phone. Give it attention. Give it presence. Let the words touch your mind. Let them challenge the panic in you. Let them lift your focus. Then, and this is important, do not jump right back into thoughts of defeat. Hold the moment for a little longer. Let the prayer settle into you. You do not need a perfect ritual. You do not need candles, dramatic music, or a special room. You need sincerity. You need awareness. You need a willing heart. This next step is crucial, so do not skip it. If you do, you may speak the prayer well, then ruin the effect by going straight back into old patterns of fear 5 seconds later. After the prayer, speak a few simple lines that agree with it. Say, I am cared for, I am not cut off, I am open to wise opportunities, I can receive good things, I can act with courage, I can become a strong vessel for increase. Use plain words if you want. The point is not to sound poetic, the point is to stop feeding your mind only with loss, then act from that place. This is where many people stop too soon. They pray, feel inspired for a moment, and then do nothing different. But prayer and action belong together. If you pray for increase, then answer the email, make the call, apply for the position. Raise the standard of your work, finish the idea, start the small business, fix the habit that keeps draining your money, learn the skill, have the honest conversation, review the budget, ask for the opportunity, take the wise step. Prayer is not meant to replace action, it is meant to clean your vision, so your action becomes stronger, calmer, and more directed. And when you act from trust instead of panic, your decisions often improve. You stop grabbing every bad option out of fear. You stop shrinking your value just to feel safe. You stop speaking like defeat is your destiny. You begin moving like someone who believes supply exists, guidance exists, and growth is possible. That alone can change a life. Watch this closely, because this is how the whole thing comes alive. The prayer prepares the inner ground. Your words keep the ground clear. Your actions plant the seeds, and over time, if you stay steady, the results begin to show. Not always overnight, not always in a dramatic flash, but often in very real ways that build one step at a time until your life no longer looks the same. I have seen this pattern play out in different lives. One case was a parent raising children alone, working hard, carrying too much, always tired, always trying to stretch too little money across too many needs. Every morning, before the rush began, that person would pause and say this prayer with calm attention, not just repeat it, feel it, trust it, then speak a few simple words of hope and move into the day with more steadiness. At first, nothing looked different on the outside. Same job, same pressure, same bills, but inside, something was changing. Fear was losing some of its grip, vision was getting clearer, confidence was slowly rising. Soon that person started noticing chances that had been ignored before. A better role opened up at work. The application was sent. The interview was faced with more confidence. The promotion came. Income rose. Not long after that, a side skill that had been sitting unused for years was finally taken seriously. Small work turned into steady work. Steady work turned into strong extra income. Before long, there was enough strength to walk away from the second exhausting job. More time, better pay, more dignity, more breathing room. And what changed first? Not the market, not luck. The inner posture changed first. That is the part people often miss. The prayer did not throw cash from the sky. It helped reshape the person saying it. It helped that person see more clearly, act more bravely, and believe that increase was not something reserved only for other people. If you are still here, take this in. Sometimes the first miracle is not money in your hand. Sometimes the first miracle is a mind that no longer bows to hopelessness. And once that shifts, the outer life can begin to move too. I saw the same pattern with someone running a struggling business. The work was decent, the product had value, but the whole thing was being managed from fear. Prices were too low, boundaries were weak. Every decision came from the thought, what if no one comes? What if I lose this? What if I ask for too much? What if I fail? That kind of thinking drains a business fast. This person began using the prayer before important decisions, before sales calls, before meetings, before planning the week. Again, not as magic, as alignment. Slowly the inner script changed. Instead of chasing every client with anxiety, there was more clarity. Instead of discounting out of fear, there was more self-respect. Instead of acting like value had to be begged for, there was a stronger sense of worth. And that changed how the business showed up in the world. Communication improved, offers became clearer, energy became cleaner, better clients started coming in. Old patterns of undercharging began to break. Revenue rose, then it rose again. The business became more stable because the person leading it became more stable first. That is what many people do not understand. Wealth is not only about what comes to you, it is also about who you are when it arrives. If your mind is full of fear, you may sabotage the very thing you prayed for. But if your mind is learning trust, courage, and order, then increase has somewhere to land. And yes, this can apply whether you run a company, work a job, freelance, create, sell, teach, or build something on the side. The prayer can become a way to center yourself before action, so your choices are not ruled by panic. That matters more than people think. A calm, clear decision can be worth far more than 100 rushed, fearful moves. Another story came from someone carrying heavy debt, credit cards, loans, medical costs, old mistakes, constant pressure. Every day felt like drowning in numbers. This person started using the prayer daily, not to escape responsibility, but to stop being mentally crushed by it. That distinction is very important. The prayer was not used as a way to avoid hard truth. It was used to face hard truth without losing hope. And from that new inner place, action followed. Spending was reviewed honestly, waste was cut, extra income was pursued, calls were made, payment plans were negotiated, shame slowly loosened its grip, and as that happened, progress became possible, debt started dropping. Not all at once, not in a fantasy moment, but steadily, month after month, then year after year. Eventually the burden that once felt impossible became something that had been overcome. This is the pattern running through all these examples. The prayer did not do the work for them. It changed the state from which they worked. It gave them a better inner ground to stand on. Now maybe you are thinking this sounds too simple. A short prayer, a mindset shift, some action, and then life changes? Be careful. It is simple, but that does not mean easy. Simple things can still be powerful. A key is simple, but it can open a locked house. Water is simple, but it keeps life going. A few right words, spoken with understanding, can change the direction of a whole day, and enough changed days can reshape a whole life. So no, the prayer is not a toy. It is a tool, but you have to use it with honesty. You have to let it shape your thinking. You have to keep moving with faith and wisdom. That is when it begins to matter. There is also something ancient in this practice that should not be ignored. This blessing has been spoken for generations in moments of gratitude, before eating, before drinking, in daily life, not only in crisis. That matters, because it teaches a very different relationship with abundance. It says supply is not just something to chase when you are desperate. It is something to recognize, honor, and receive every day. People often want wealth without reverence, increase without gratitude, blessing without inner order. But this kind of prayer pushes back against that. It calls you to become aware of source, aware of speech, aware of what rules your heart, aware of whether you are living like scarcity is your God, or whether you still believe in provision. This is why some people can hear the exact same prayer and walk away unchanged, while others use it as the start of a real transformation. One person hears a line, another person hears a call to live differently. One person wants a shortcut, another person accepts a process. One person repeats sound, another person lets the meaning reshape the inner life. And that is where new results can begin. So yes, say the prayer, but do not only say it, understand it, let it examine you, let it slow you down, let it interrupt your fear. Let it expose how often your mind speaks lack, even when your mouth speaks blessing. This may be the part that changes everything. And if you have stayed with me this long, you already know this is not just about money. It is also about becoming someone who can receive well, carry increase with wisdom, and keep peace while building a stronger life. That is the deeper gift inside the practice. And now there is one more piece you need to hear. The prayer I shared is powerful, but it is not the whole picture. There is another part that completes the practice, and that part is gratitude. Without gratitude, the heart stays tight. Without gratitude, the mind keeps staring at what is missing. Without gratitude, even real blessings can pass through your life unnoticed. Think about it this way. If all your attention stays on what you do not have, then nothing ever feels enough. Even when help arrives, you barely see it. Even when progress happens, you dismiss it because it is not yet perfect. That keeps your inner cup clogged with frustration. Gratitude clears space. Gratitude softens the inner life. Gratitude teaches you to receive. And a person who cannot receive well often struggles to hold more. So the full rhythm is this. In the morning, say the abundance prayer and align yourself with source. In the evening, speak gratitude for what came that day. Thank God for any money that arrived, any open door, any kind word, any good idea, any small provision, any protection, any lesson, any sign of movement. Even on hard days, find something. Not because you are denying pain, but because you are training your eyes to notice supply, even in small forms. This matters more than you think. Small gratitude changes the texture of your mind. It teaches you that life is not made only of lack. It teaches you to spot quiet blessings. It teaches you to live with open hands instead of a clenched heart. And once gratitude becomes real, not forced, not fake, but real, it changes your energy. You become less bitter, less blind, less trapped in the belief that nothing good is happening. That inner change often prepares you for outer change in ways that are hard to measure but very easy to feel. One person followed this full practice for 30 days without skipping. Each morning the short blessing, each evening simple thanks. The first week seemed quiet. No big breakthrough, no dramatic shift. The same job, the same routine, the same bills. But something subtle was happening. The mind was slowing down. Complaining was happening less often. Fear was not gone, but it was not running everything. In the second week, little things began to appear. A forgotten refund, a payment that arrived early, a discount that came at the right time, a useful connection, small things, easy to ignore if you are always rushing. But now they were being noticed. Then in the third week, stronger movement came. A new opportunity opened. More income came in. Confidence rose. Better decisions followed. By the fourth week, the person had stepped into a much better position than before. Was every part of that because of the words alone? No, it was the full pattern. Prayer, gratitude, better focus, better speech, better action. That is the point. When your inner world changes, your outer choices often change with it, and changed choices can lead to changed outcomes. So if you want to use this in your life, keep it simple. In the morning, remember the source. In the evening, remember the blessings. During the day, speak with care and act with courage. That is the rhythm. That is the practice. And if this spoke to you, try it for 30 days with honesty. Not as a performance, not as a trick, but as a real practice. Say the prayer, mean it, live it, stay aware, keep moving, and watch closely. Because sometimes the first signs of change are quiet, and if you are not paying attention, you might miss the very answer you have been asking for.